Welcome to my 300th video here on this YouTube channel. What insanity. Thank you for being here. I'm wearing my party hat because it feels very much like a party today. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on yet another practical, digestible piece of information, piece of advice that you can implement in your gut healing journey. Now, this is going to be helpful no matter what your diagnosis, whether it be Crohn's, colitis, IBS, SIBO, GERD, or something in between. But I will say, I think that this next little bit of information is going to be especially helpful for people with IBS and SIBO. And what are we going to be talking about? Well, you probably looked at the title and found that out already. We're going to be talking about intuitive eating, mindful eating, some flavor of that world. And I'm going to preface this by saying that this is my own flavor of this advice. There are some little changes and little tweaks that I make to this idea when I teach it to students and patients, and I want you to know that up front. And I will reveal something, a little confession. I have this book. This is probably the most well-known book in this area of discussion, and I have not read it. My toxic trait is purchasing books that I have every intention of reading, and then I do not read them. So this one sits on the shelf looking very pretty with a lot of its other brethren. But that is to say that these ideas are my own, and this is what I have learned from clinical experience and just general, I don't know, like internet reading, internet research kind of stuff. Okay. Now, without further ado, it wouldn't be a Dr. DiNezza Gut Microbiome Queen video if I didn't have some research. So let's get into some actual research studies looking at people, in this case, with irritable bowel syndrome. So without further ado, head bubble, and we are off and running. So let's learn a little bit more about what mindful eating might do as far as its effect on the gut, why it matters, and what mindful eating might actually mean at the end of the day. So this is an oldie but goodie. The number of chews and meal duration affect diet-induced thermogenesis and splanchnic circulation. So what you need to know is that the splanchnic blood flow, the splanchnic circulation, is basically the arterial blood supply to the gut itself. And diet-induced thermogenesis is the genesis of heat due to the increased intake of food. So when you eat food and you get more blood flow and more activity in the gut, you do generate some heat in the gut because of that. So that's basically the translation of the title. There's the PubMed ID if you want to look this one up. And they took healthy, normal weight subjects and they had them participate in two different trials, a rapid eating trial and a slow eating trial. And what they found, probably is not surprising, they found that more chewing and longer mealtime both correlated with better or increased blood flow to the gut. Now, this is going to bode really well for you if you want to digest your freaking food, right? So you need blood flow to go to the stomach to make stomach acid. You need blood flow to go to the pancreas to make pancreatic enzymes. You need blood flow to go to the liver and the gallbladder to stimulate the production and release of bile. You need blood flow to go to your gut lining so that you can heal a leaky gut if that is indeed a thing for you. You need blood flow to carry white blood cells and other sort of nutrients and proteins to the gut if you want your immune system to be able to battle things like candida and dysbiosis. So better blood flow is a really good thing. And all these people had to do was chew more and take a little bit longer in their meal. How cool is that? Here's another study. So this time they were looking at dietary patterns and functional GI disorders. Most of the time when they say functional GI disorders, they mean either IBS or indigestion. That's all you need to know. So this FGID is basically IBS and indigestion. So they looked at the dietary patterns and functional GI disorders among Iranian military men. And they said, participants were asked to define their weekly breakfast consumption, lunch intake time, and chewing efficiency. Functional GI disorders were characterized as 4 groups, including functional dyspepsia, aka indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome, functional constipation, and functional diarrhea. So this is what they were looking at. And they said, after adjusting for all potential confounding variables, more weekly breakfast consumption was associated with decreased functional diarrhea prevalence. Eating your lunch slowly declined the prevalence of IBS, and individuals chewing their meals well had a lower percentage of IBS, functional constipation, and functional diarrhea. How cool is that? So when grandma told us that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, or when mom or grandma told us, hey, slow down, do you even taste your food when you eat that fast? There was actually some scientific backing to that advice. That actually increases blood flow to the gut, as we previously saw, and decreases your incidence or your risk of functional GI disorders, including IBS. It's no wonder your gut's getting blood flow. Here's another study. Diet low in FODMAPs reduces symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome as well as traditional dietary advice. And this is a randomized controlled trial. And they said, subjects were randomly assigned to groups that ate a specific diet for 4 weeks. One group had a diet low in FODMAPs, or the other group had a diet frequently recommended for patients with IBS, i.e., a regular meal pattern, avoidance of large meals, and reduced intake of fat, insoluble fibers, caffeine, and gas-producing foods such as beans, cabbage, and onions, with greater emphasis on how and when to eat rather than which foods to ingest. That's important. And they said the severity of IBS symptoms was reduced in both groups during the intervention without a significant difference between the groups. Now, here's the thing. Let me backtrack for a sec. Which would you rather do? Would you rather avoid so many of the foods you love? Onion and garlic and apples and wheat. Would you rather avoid all of those foods and be on a super mega restrictive diet? Or would you rather slow down, decrease your fat, your caffeine, your insoluble fiber a bit, and just reduce the gas-producing foods and eat at a regular time interval, eat a regular meal pattern? I think the latter sounds way easier and way better for your mental health and your overall nutrition compared to the low FODMAP diet. And again, the results were the same. So pick which one you want to do, I guess. Here's another one. Empirically derived dietary habits are associated with irritable bowel syndrome. And they said, in a cross-sectional study, dietary habits of 4,763 adults were assessed in 3 domains: meal pattern, eating rate, and intra-meal fluid intake. And they said, after adjustment for confounders, women with an irregular meal pattern had 30% greater risk of having IBS compared to those with a regular meal pattern. Overweight participants with fast eating rate were 70% more likely to have IBS compared with those with a moderate eating rate. Irregular meal pattern was related to frequency and severity of abdominal pain. Holy macaroni. Like, that's pretty damning. And you can look at it this way. You need to let your nervous system know that food's coming in. If you are not giving your poor nervous system and your gut any fair warning, they're not going to know when they need to perform their job. How's your stomach supposed to know when to produce stomach acid? Honest question. If you're eating at all weird hours of the day and you have no regularity in your eating pattern, how does your stomach know when to produce stomach acid? The answer is it doesn't. When does your pancreas know to make digestive enzymes? It doesn't. When does your gallbladder know to release bile? I mean, these signals need some degree of regularity and predictability to be able to go forth. And a lot of us are not giving our nervous system and our gut that ability to predict our meal times. And of course, when we're talking to the nervous system, we have 5 ways that we can engage the nervous system and tell it about the world around us. So sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, the 5 senses. And you could look at it this way, the translation in the gut world. So you need to look at the food. You need to see it. You need to, smell your food. Oh my God, I've had so many people in FODMAP Freedom especially say that just pausing to take one sniff of their food before meals has radically reduced their symptoms. And you could do it for free. Nobody's going to charge you for smelling your food. Hearing, if you could hear the sound of it cooking or sizzling, that could help. Tasting your food, slowing down so that you actually get that sensory experience and feeling the food in your mouth. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it warm? Is it slimy? Is it crunchy? Is it salty? Is it, whatever? You could get the sensory experience that your nervous system needs by just slowing down and really taking the time to experience your food. Let me get out of head bubble mode. And in my mind, that's all that mindful eating needs to be. We don't need to necessarily read this book that's pretty thick. I mean, one day I will, but you don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to chew every bite of food 30 times until it's a disgusting, flavorless paste. You just need to slow down and experience your dang food so that your nervous system and your gut understand that they need to do the job of breaking it down for you. And you need to make a point of eating at a regular time every day. Now, of course, there's going to be quirks. If you're on vacation or you're traveling or if you have like a weirdly scheduled meeting, there are going to be times in every single person's life where you take your lunch a little bit late or you skip breakfast or something happens. But on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, the regular routine, the habit that makes up your life needs to be consistent. So try to eat your breakfast around the same time within about maybe half an hour or an hour. Try to take your lunch around the same time most days within half an hour or an hour. And eat your dinner around the same time every day. And it doesn't have to be much more glamorous than that. So slow down, actually experience your food. I would actually argue too that enjoying your food is a piece of this, because tasting something that's yummy and delightful to you is going to fire up your vagus nerve and make your nervous system happy. So by all means, eat something you actually enjoy. Maybe broaden out your diet and get off of that damn low FODMAP diet. And then I think that you're going to be toning your vagus nerve and connecting your gut-brain axis, which will in turn reduce your symptoms. I can tell you that with a great deal of certainty because I've seen it happen again and again and again, both in my private practice and in FODMAP freedom. Now, you want to know the irony of making this my 300th video on this channel? It's probably not going to perform well. I know it. I know my channel well enough, 300 videos in, and I know the internet well enough. A video about mindful eating, helping to treat SIBO, is not going to perform well. But I know darn well that if I made a video about antimicrobials or killing SIBO or killing Candida, that would perform astonishingly well by comparison. And, here's the thing. The healing of IBS and SIBO and dysbiosis and Candida almost always largely goes back to these unsexy basics. It's the videos that you don't think you need that matter the most. It's the topics and the conversations that you actually want to avoid a bit that usually matter the most. And the shiny fancy supplements, the shiny fancy prokinetics or antimicrobials or probiotics or whatever it might be, like those will help, but only to a certain point. If you are eating so fast that you're not getting blood flow to your gut, there's not a prokinetic in this universe that's going to help you with that. If you have an irregular meal pattern and you're eating at all weird, peculiar times and you're skipping breakfast and skipping lunch and trying to do intermittent fasting because the internet told you to, and you're eating at all odd hours of the day, there's no probiotic that will heal that. You have to get back to the diet and the lifestyle stuff and get these unsexy foundational basic things in place. And then maybe the supplements will actually help you. But I think this is a big reason why so many people with IBS and so many people with SIBO get stuck. It's because they don't want to pay attention to this as much, or maybe they do the mindful eating thing for like 3 days and then they forget about it and they move on. But this is the actual crux of what will get you better if you just take the time and the effort to implement it in your life. And if you want more of this unsexy, but very, very effective stuff, and you want to actually build a protocol that's going to work for you, check out FODMAP Freedom. I always put the link in the description down below. Check it out. You can join the wait list, and then next time we're open for enrollment, I will send you an email and I'll let you know. And then you could take a little bit of time to noodle on it, learn about it, maybe do a discovery call with our FODMAP Freedom coach and decide if it's going to be the right program for you. But I'm telling you right now, there is not a lot of silver bullets in FODMAP Freedom. There are not a lot of times where I say, just take this one supplement and it'll fix everything. Because in all honesty, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Hey guys, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, click the like button, and leave a comment down below with the videos that you would like to see me do next. Doing all of those really helps support the channel and support my efforts in making as many videos as possible for you guys. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.